Now she is a jewel of that era and attracts visitors from around the world. This is suburbia for Australian gannets, Cape kidnappers, their only mainland nesting place in the southern hemisphere. Te Mata Peak overlooks the rich, once sacred land of Hawke's Bay. Dreamy, lush lowlands of pastoral beauty. Steaming bores describe a landscape in thermal uproar and supply an abundant field of energy. Nearby, one of New Zealand's grandest sights, the magnificent Hooker Falls, hurtles water into the Waikato River. Named Lake Taupo, this is more like a tideless sea than a lake. It is neither, but a volcano which blew its top some 2,000 years ago. Now peaceful, Lake Taupo has been called the world-famous trout factory. Thousands of brown and rainbow trout are caught here each year. Facing the lake, a Maori hamlet called Waihi Village, designed by Maori for Maori. The trout river Turangi, where each bend and pool has a fishing title like Silly Pool for beginners and Breakfast Pool for fanatics. Tongariro National Park, where alpine forest, desert and wilderness offer glimpses of our planet in the making. To some people, you only have to mention the words snow and mountain and they arrive. Tens of thousands of them, testing the slopes to the limit. Mount Ruapehu is the ski mountain. Surrounded by spectacular scenery, experienced skiers and beginners try to avoid each other. But sometimes, trouble just seems inevitable. A treat for the traveller is Waiuru's Military Museum, which covers all the campaigns New Zealanders have ever fought. Stories not of war, but of loyalty, camaraderie and necessity. In the Wairarapa, farming is a way of life, a culture. Here, beast is matched against beast for size and speed. Farming, competitive farming, is the name of New Zealand's game. City, country and coast meet together in Wellington. Capital and governing centre, Parliament actually sits in a unique building we call the Beehive. Early Prime Minister Richard Seddon reminds us of our lively political history. Wellington is a city full of personality, with many old colonial government buildings. Homes perched on steep hills that run into the sea. presenting a fine mix of old and new buildings made to host and entertain. She has been called the San Francisco of the South. The cable car only reinforces the image. Named after the explorer, Cook Strait is the channel between North and South Islands. Queen Charlotte Sound is the first sight of land to greet you as you travel south on the Inter-Island Ferry. Nestled at the base of the sound hides the ferry port of Picton, hiding place for a flotilla of yachts that visit these parts each year. Over 100 years ago, the Edwin Fox brought 751 settlers to these parts. Her restoration is underway. Follow the road to Kaikoura's rugged coast. A township built around the sea. Where man and mammal share in the resources of this unique location. Because of the unusual depth just offshore, the grand master of the sea, the whale, comes to feed and bask. The only place in the world where they can come all year round. The Cathedral Tower overlooks Nelson, centre to the Marlborough region. Hard work and a benevolent climate helped establish Nelson early, and the discovery of gold brought quick prosperity. Some of the old homesteads in the region show us what their lives were like. The region is a major grower of apples and wine. Several vineyards produce international award-winning wines. No wonder people look happy. Abel Tasman National Park provides a gateway for us to escape. What better way than into some of the most beautiful and unspoiled wilderness in the world? The bush-clad mountains of Abel Tasman offer both exhilarating and interesting hiking. Trampers are rewarded by the yellow sands and calm waters of Golden Bay. Carved through the mountain spine of the South Island, Buller Gorge is our gateway to the Wild West. Strange, multi-layered Punakaiki rocks, where layers of contrasting rock weather differently. It's the nearest thing rocks ever get to having wrinkles. When the sea moves in, the air rushes out, and there she blows. Shantytown echoes the golden days of yesteryear, when the hills were full of flint-like personalities who travelled the world to stake their claim and find their fortune in gold. Some did, some didn't. And this town was built of those who did. There's still gold in the hills, but the rush has slowed. In fact, in these parts, no one's in a hurry. In Hokitika, centuries before Europeans fought for gold, the Maori fought for greenstone or jade. Harder than most materials, it takes diamonds to cut its surface. Once used for weapons, it is now worked into sculpture and jewellery. New Zealand's rugged and unique west coast. Westland, the wild and wetted strip of green bush between the Tasman Sea and the Southern Alps. The Lake District, where the calm waters of Maporika and Matheson mirror the majestic peaks of the Southern Alps. Like giant pools, they reflect the bush-clad shoreline of an untamed west coast. Watch out for your food. The cheeky Kia has a big personality and a big appetite to go with it. The shy wood pigeon just looks on. The best way to see Franz Josef Glacier is by air. Torrents of jagged ice have now become crevices of up to 30 meters in height. A river of ice carving its own valley at a couple of centimeters a day. Centuries-old ice thaws into the Waiho River. Sea and wind work together to carve out Knight's Point. As the road rises rapidly from the west coast up towards snowy mountain peaks, we head for the Haast Pass. The broad and fertile Canterbury Plains introduce us to Christchurch, the Garden City. A city on the flat and a cyclist's paradise. Here, first settlers came from England and set out to establish Christchurch as an English city. English public schools tradition lives on at Christ College. At the centre of the city's Cathedral Square. Landmark and gathering place for people, ideas and eccentrics. A great place to relax. City Common, Hagley Park. A timeless ride around the park takes us past fragrant flower beds and reminds us of a 19th century England. Alongside, the Avon River meanders through the town, decorated by punts floating by at a leisurely pace. Now, what could be more English than that? The Botanic Gardens, where the style is formal and the flowers are traditional. In recent years, Christchurch has served as the setting-off point and supply base for expeditions to the Antarctic. This story is told at the International Antarctic Centre. A ride in the gondola up Mount Cavendish is rewarded by panoramic views of the city and plains. Cradled within the steep hills of Banks Peninsula below lies the port of Lyttelton. But the crystal clear day draws us inland to a greater beauty, starting with the milky blue waters of Lake Pukaki. This is only the beginning as we start our pilgrimage to the magnificent Southern Alps. New Zealand's highest peak, Mount Cook, draws thousands each year to the national park. World-famous hotel The Hermitage hosts them, but it is the beauty that satisfies and brings them back again, year after year. A place as vast as this has more beauty than just a walk reveals. Much of her splendor is hidden and can only be seen from the air. Tasman Glacier provides a landing place where we can touch the beauty of one of the world's highest rooftops. The impact of the experience is written on the face of its visitors. On horseback is a great way to see the Mackenzie country, a vast hidden flatland running between the mountains. The climate is dry and harsh, but sheep thrive in the high country. Sheep have been the economy here ever since the European arrived, and shearing them is part of our national tradition. Honoured and remembered by the statue at Tekapo, the sheepdog is much responsible for New Zealand's success as a sheep breeding country. In the high country, sheep must run free to get feed. The only way they can be gathered is by the trusty border collie. The Church of the Good Shepherd commemorates the faith of the early settlers and aligns the beauty of its countryside to its creator. From this wild and remote region comes the ability to live in the sophisticated 20th century. As hydropower is sent across the country at about the speed of light. If Christchurch were England, then Dunedin would be Scotland. Rightly, she's been named the Edinburgh of the South. In her centre, a proud statue of who else but Robbie Burns, the Scottish poet.